Africa. አፍሪካ ሀገራችን አፍሪካ 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 ሀገራችን አፍሪካ ሀገሬ ምንኛ ያበራል ከጎዳናው ትመት የአደስ ያንጠራራል አፍሪካ 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 ሀገራችን አፍሪካ አፍሪካ ሀገራችን አፍሪካ 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 ሀገራችን አፍሪካ ሀገሬ ምንኛ ያኮራል ከጎዳናው ትተን የአደስ ያንጠራራል አፍሪካ 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 ሀገራችን አፍሪካ Africa,
ተናስተልን የተወደዳችሁ በያላችሁበት እንደምን ቆያችሁ? የኢትዮጵያ ቴሌቪዥንን በቀጥታ ስርጭት እየተከታተላችሁ ነው። አዲስ አበባ ሁለት ግዙፍ እና ዓለም አቀፍ ጉባኤዎችን እያስተናገደች ነው ልንል እንችላለን። ከሰዓታት በኋላ የጣሊያን አፍሪካ ጉባኤ ለመጀመሪያ ጊዜ በአፍሪካ ምድር እዚህ አዲስ አበባ ነው የሚካሄደው። በነገው ዕለትና ከዛ ባሉት ቀናት ደግሞ 39ኛ የአፍሪካ ህብረት የመሪዎች ጉባኤ ይካሄዳል። እሱን ሳቢያ በማድረግ ኢቢሲ በልዩ አቀራረብና ልዩ ዝግጅቱ ሰፊ ጉዳዮችን ይዞ ወደ እናንተ የቀጥታ ስርጭቱን ጀምሯል። አሁን የሰለሞን ኃይለ ኢየሱስ ባልደረባዬ ማለት
The Italy-Africa relationship has transitioned from colonial roots to a strategic partnership centered on diplomacy, economic development and mutual growth, with recent efforts like the Mate Plan enhancing cooperation across key sectors. The 2026 summit aims to further strengthen this evolving alliance. Hello and welcome. My colleague Desta Kausai and I, Gamachisa Mandita, will bring you possible highlights in the Africa-Italy summit, which is going to commence after a few minutes. Stay tuned. Hello, Desta.
Hello, Gamachis.
I'm good. Well, we are on the second Italy-Africa Summit 2026. This is a big event. And just before we go through, I would like to say a few things about the historical context of Italy-Africa relations. Of course, after World War II, Italy's focus was on rebuilding its economy and establishing, new international partnerships. And of course, during these periods after World War II, Italy's engagement with Africa in the late 20th century was primarily through aid programs, development cooperation and trade, often driven by European Union policies. Well, in early 21st century, of course, the dynamics, has shifted, and we have been, observing, increasing economic engagement over the years. And over the past 2 decades, of course, Italy's economic ties with Africa have grown, with Italian companies investing in sectors such as energy, infrastructure and telecommunications. And now we are in the year 2026. Of course, last 2024, this the first Italy-Africa summit, took place, and there were many things that took place, during that time. And can you start from that, please?
Yeah, thank you, Gamachis. And as you have already mentioned, Italy is one of the very giant economies in the world. And it has been engaged in Africa's economy in many sectors. Say energy, you can take in Ethiopia, far from, I think, starting from the Emperor Haile Selassie, they were building dams for hydroelectric power and so on, and infrastructures in many African countries through road and railways. And in another way, again, they have been engaged in manufacturing industrial products such as tractors and for agricultural inputs and many other things. So one way or the other, Italy has been at the forefront, if not in another way, in the economic development of Africa. And the shift has now again put a momentum in a new paradigm shift of the economic development of Africa, which is from shifting or transitioning from aid into mutual respect and based on equal partnership. And this is a new paradigm shift, I think, for the Africa-Italy partnership. But we shouldn't forget that Italy has been in the many sectors of African economic development in many aspects. Now it is transitioning into a new era of development, which is mutual prosperity, and according to analysts, this is a new development amongst the two bilateral ties. And as you have already mentioned, this is based on African interests. Africa doesn't want any of aid as an aid recipient and so on. So the transition of this development between Italy and Africa is an exemplary one, I think. Since for decades it has started, I think.
Yeah, let's come to, what has been taking place in recent years, especially, in the 2000s, mainly, of course, after 2020. Well, in 2024, we have the Mate Plan. And in this case, of course, it was launched by Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni in Rome, and with the strategic aim of transforming Italy's approach to Africa. And previously, of course, Italy has been giving, various kinds of donations to African countries, and the relationship between Italy and Africa was not on the basis of mutual benefit, we could say. But these days the Italian government appears to be very much committed to improve the relationship between Italy and Africa, where mutual benefits between the two parties are ensured. Okay, so Italy, in this case, the Mate plan, it is really so interesting because it has brought new ventures between Italy and the African continent, or countries in the African continent, and many countries were involved in this kind of relationship between Italy and Africa. And the first countries in 2024 back then were some 9 countries, and later they became just 14 countries. So generally speaking, the Italian government of course began with redefining Italy-Africa relations, moving beyond traditional aid models and financial commitment. The plan allocated in 2024, of course, 5.5 billion euros, signaling Italy's serious intent to invest in Africa's development sectors. And the other focus area is, of course, it concentrates on critical sectors such as education, agriculture, health, energy, and water. These are, areas essential for sustainable growth and stability. And again, this partnership, of course, does not stop there. It also anticipates, long-term partnership by emphasizing sustainable development, and the plan intends to build stable, long-term relationships, positioning Italy not just as a donor, but as a strategic partner that contributes to Africa's self-sufficiency and growth. Desta, what else do you have?
Yeah, as you have already mentioned, from its very outset, the Matteo plan, named after the very visionary post-war energy expert Enrico Matteo, I think this is a very credible plan. Unlike the others, this is a plan which is on a very collaborative model, which includes African heads of states and leaders, starting from its inception, starting from its drafting, and up to its implementation. So this is a unique one. We're not receiving as Africa. That's not what we are seeking. As you have already been mentioning, Africa has challenges in particular sectors. Africa seeks to industrialize its economy. Africa seeks to digitize its economy. And we do have the challenges of meeting all these goals due to infrastructure bottlenecks and so on. So here comes Italy in fulfilling these kind of things. So this is a mutual respect, mutual benefit for both Africa and Italy. So it's unique in its perspective and its even implementation. And on the other hand, as you have already mentioned, some of the areas are very critical. Unlike many other partnerships that are employed or involved in Africa, this is credible and unique in its sector-wise, I think. Education, health, water and energy, and infrastructure. These are the very critical areas that Africa is seeking to develop and enhance its economic endeavors. So the coming of Italy is very nice, and especially energy. When we are looking at energy, Ethiopia is advancing in energy, not only for a country-wise, it is an economic integration arena where the completion of the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam is not only for Ethiopia, it transcends a region. It goes to a country, the continent as a whole. It can reach to Tanzania and so on. So the coming of Italy in this regard, like the Internazionale di Energia Elettrica of the National Electric Company of Italy, could make a paramount impact in the energy sector of Africa, which is the very heartbeat of industrialization and digitization. So I think this is a very critical moment that we are stepping in. And one thing I can add, a very critical thing, is that Ethiopia, or Addis Ababa, has been at the very heart of African Union. And it's a very good blessing to just have this second Italy-Africa summit here in Addis, in the African soil. And I think a very recommendable thing for Addis and the entire country and its leadership to have the Addis International Convention Center, and to have the summit here in the African soil. So this is a demonstration again. This is a mutual-based, mutual respect partnership between Italy and Africa, because the first summit was in Italy, Rome. Now we are having it in the African capital in Addis, here in Africa.
Yes, Desta, of course, this is, a grand summit because it's unprecedented, we could say, and especially after 2024, where we had, the first summit, the Italy-Africa summit. Many things took place. Many collaborations, many partnership agreements were made between the Italian government and many African countries. And as you said earlier, of course, the road for development in various sectors has already begun. For example, education, agriculture, digitization, etc. And this particular time, when we are having, this summit a second time in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, we expect, a lot of important decisions to be made by the leaders, the Italian leader and respective African leaders as well. And again, why is this particular summit, the second Italy-Africa summit, so significant, so important for both Italy and the African countries? Of course, it signifies Italy's shift from rhetoric to direct engagement on African soil, and it emphasizes partnership over mere dialogue. Previously, we know that the partnership between Italy and African countries is not as strong, and it didn't bring about the kind of result maybe especially African countries needed. But this time the commitment is observed in having this summit in Addis Ababa. The fact that the organizers, both in Italy and in Ethiopia and in many African countries, when they have this summit here in Addis Ababa, it shows the commitment, the recognition they give to African countries, especially the Italian leaders believe in African countries' engagement in this kind of summit, so that both parties will benefit, and what they started back in 2024 is likely to be enhanced this particular time, and additional partnerships, cooperation agreements are likely just to be made. Desta.
Yes, I think what we expect from the second Italy-Africa summit is one, they will review the key achievements, the implementation. They will audit the 5.5 billion euro partnership that has been already placed in 14 pilot countries, including Ethiopia, Algeria, Morocco, Kenya, and the other countries in Africa. And the other thing that we expect is concrete actions that advances the Italy-Africa partnership with regard to specific sector-wise engagements among the two parties. And the other thing, as you have been already stating, that what are the results? We can mention some of the things, but the rest we will get it after the heads of states deliberations during the second Italy-Africa summit today. But some of the things in Kenya, for example, large-scale biofuel initiative is bringing a dramatic change of from 44,000 oilseed production to 500,000 production. This is a very dramatic change due to the implementation of the Italy-Africa partnership. And the other thing, again, at the same time, the biofuel initiative can again benefit about 200,000 Kenyan farmers. And at the same time, as we have mentioned, the countries that are benefiting with this regard are about 14. So in Tunisia, again, in another sector, the Italy-Africa partnership is working in education and upgrading and developing the quality of education in Tunisia. And in the Republic of Congo, again, new water distribution networks are being drilled so that sanitation of potable water can be distributed to the Congolese people. So these are an advancement that we can at least mention over the last achievement that has been gained. But the details remains to be discussed during the second Italy-Africa summit, and we will have it in detail from the heads of states. Again, I think this is an encouraging result, but still the advancement has to go far beyond what has already been achieved over the last 2 years since it was commenced, I think.
Yes, Desta, thank you. Desta, I think we need to take a break and then be back to our viewers. Viewers, will be back to you after a brief break. Stay with us. Viewers, we're back to you. Desta, of course, the objective and agenda that are likely to be raised during this summit are very much aligning to the 48th ordinary session of the Executive Council of the African Union, which, of course, came to an end yesterday. For instance, it raises, accountability. It allows accountability to take place while assessing whether initial commitments such as the 5.5 billion investment are being made can be, checked, just during this summit. Yeah, and digital transformation is likely to be mentioned during this summit, and focus on building digital infrastructure with innovations like digital IDs, satellite technology, and e-governance systems can be, mentioned, and they will, of course, revolutionize the development in the African continent. And again, we know that many African immigrants, just cross borders to make, just their way to Europe, and Italy is, just the country through which, migrants from Africa pass through. And a couple of years ago, the Italian government had, a big concern because of, uncontrolled migration from Africa. So when Africa and Italy, work together on these issues, it is very likely that, the problems, will be resolved. And both Africa and Italy will benefit, from this summit, from the partnerships and from the cooperation, from this summit. For instance, if we take, Italy, Italy aspires, to become a key energy supplier to Africa, and its companies, want to engage in the African continent, especially turning, Africa's raw materials into source of energy. And ENI, for example, is one of Italy's companies that is very good at this. And economic opportunities for Italian companies. Italian companies, again, like the ACEA, Enel, are exploring investments in water and energy sectors across Africa. And their aim is, of course, to tap into the continent's growth. And at the same time, Africa will have, opportunities, for instance, harnessing growth. Africa has the young populations. 75% of young Africans' populations are young people, and these will have, opportunities for job. Okay, Desta, again, we'll take a break, and we'll be back to you, viewers.
Centralità e della rilevanza che la mia nazione attribuisce al rapporto con tutti voi. Permettetemi di ringraziare il mio amico, il primo ministro Abiy Ahmed, per la calorosa accoglienza e la preziosa collaborazione nell'organizzazione di questo summit. Appuntamento che si svolge alla vigilia di un momento altrettanto solenne, che è l'Assemblea dei Capi di Stato e di Governo dell'Unione Africana, alla quale avrò domani l'onore di intervenire. Ringrazio per questo il Presidente Youssouf, il Presidente Lorenzo, per l'invito, oltre che per il sostegno che l'Unione Africana ci ha sempre garantito in questi anni. 2 anni fa, quando ho avuto l'onore di ospitarvi a Roma, abbiamo assunto un impegno molto ambizioso,
took a commitment, a very challenging one,
e cioè scrivere una pagina
that is to
nuova
say,
nella
to
storia
write a
delle
new
nostre
page
relazioni,
of the history of
costruire un
our
modello
relations
completamente diverso
by
di
a completely
cooperazione
different model of
fondato sulla fiducia e sul
trust
rispetto
and
reciproco.
on mutual
Una cooperazione da pari a pari,
cooperation,
lontana da qualsiasi tentazione predatoria, ma anche dall'approccio paternalistico che
approach, and also
per lungo
any
tempo ha distorto i rapporti tra l'Africa, l'Europa, l'Occidente e ha spesso impedito alle nostre nazioni di comprendere le straordinarie peculiarità, ma soprattutto le straordinarie potenzialità dei popoli africani. Da allora,
since that summit that took place 2 years ago, we have worked very hard.
Anni nei quali abbiamo dato forma al piano Mattei per lo abbiamo radicato nei nostri sistemi istituzionali, lo abbiamo fatto crescere così tanto che oggi viene riconosciuto non più come un'iniziativa italiana, ma come una strategia di respiro internazionale. E questo è stato possibile grazie alle sinergie strutturate che abbiamo costruito insieme alle principali agenzie delle Nazioni Unite. Ringrazio il segretario, insieme all'Unione Europea, all'Unione Africana, al G7, ai tantissimi partner che condividono la nostra visione, dall'Europa fino al Golfo, passando per la... Così facendo, credere che stiamo contribuendo a rivoluzionare il modo di guardare all'Africa e conseguentemente di agire in Africa. Oggi il Piano Mattei è una realtà operativa e strutturata che genera risultati tangibili per i nostri popoli, che può contare su un'architettura
and innovative, which is the result of the precious cooperation we have established with the World Bank, the Bank institutions operating internationally. Over the past 2 years, we have launched and completed concrete projects of great social impact. We have invested billions of euros in terms of public and private resources, and we have done it by adopting a method engaging the best energies of the Italian people in a teamwork that is enhancing the whole system. Italy is present here with many representatives, and I would like to thank them all, businesses, universities, world of cooperation and research. So a heritage of best practices that have worked in a coordinated manner to pursue a common goal. And this goal is not that of putting in place a mere package of projects, but actually to build a pact between free nations, you and us, that choose to work together because they trust each other and they are looking for cooperation areas where they can stand out and make the difference with a view to sharing common benefits. It is a method that is proposing concrete solutions, that is generating benefits that can be easily verified, especially from a strategic standpoint for our common growth. I'm thinking of energy, where we have chosen to focus on interconnection between the two shores of the Mediterranean and to focus on renewables and biofuels, respecting the principle of technological neutrality, which is key for a green transition that is sustainable but also compatible with our economic and production systems. We were able to build a new public-private paradigm. That's another pillar of our cooperation, and then food security by supporting local businesses generating quality employment, but also supporting technology innovation and access to water. We have reinforced cooperation in physical and digital infrastructure in different regions of Africa, because without connections, there's simply no such a thing as growth, and there can't be integration with the global markets. We have cooperated in the healthcare sector to make the systems stronger and more accessible. We have worked on industry, employment and development of the private sector with a special focus on young people. Because clearly, every project that belongs to the Mattei Plan has something in common, so a focus on education and training. Because our goal is not that of creating new dependencies, but to support the protagonism of the African peoples and help them be redeemed. And this is possible only if we place more value on the human capital. And this has to be done since the very first years of schooling. That is why, along with Nigeria and the partnership with the Global Partnership for Education, we've mounted a campaign to raise $5 billion and improve the quality of education for 750 million children in more than 91 countries. And I will be happy to co-chair in June a summit with President Tinubu. So this is our approach, because the challenge of a totally new cooperation, which we are rising up to, is above all based on the ability that Africa has to live off its wealth. thereby processing their raw materials without letting them be taken from others by growing their land, by growing crops on their land. We're not interested in exploiting migration to have low-cost labor to use in our industry. We want to fight against the deep causes that are pushing too many young people to flee their countries of origin, where they were born and raised, that prevents them from contributing to the development of their own countries. It is a choice of responsibility, of a shared responsibility, and not a short-term compromise. And we did that not because we want to sound arrogant, as it happened in the past, by imposing things from the top. We want to build things together. We want to find solutions together with humbleness and with respect. And not, despite all this, the goal of this summit is not to celebrate what we have done so far, but it is that of thinking together about what we can still do to make the Mattei Plan be even more efficient, more pragmatic, and more consistent with the needs of the countries involved. Because if there's one thing that we've learned over the past few years, is that the success of this initiative depends on our ability to keep listening, our ability to be ready to, fine-tune our approach by learning from our mistakes, drawing inspiration from African wisdom. No track can be drawn without meeting stones on our path, but it's thanks to that stones and that rocks that we can walk and that we can move forward. We want to continue in this direction, being aware that the results that we have achieved are not, the end point, but are seeds that have been sown to have a richer and more thriving crop. So if we can stick to this approach, and I'm sure that we will contribute all together in our own roles to make the lesson that we have learned from a giant of our time, John Paul II. We are all truly responsible for everyone. So this is our approach. This is the epitome of what is moving us. And this is what we want to keep doing. So thank you. Thank you, everyone, for what we have built together over the past few years. But thank you also for attending today to show that we still want to continue to work together. Thank you. I'll hand the floor over to the Prime Minister of the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia, Abiy Ahmed Ali. Thank you.
Your Excellency, President João Lorenzo, Chairperson of the African Union, Your Excellency Giorgia Meloni, Prime Minister of the Republic of Italy, Your Excellencies, Heads of State and Government, Your Excellency Mahmoud Ali Yusuf, Chairperson of the African Union Commission, Your Excellency Antonio Guterres, representatives from multilateral institutions like World Bank, Africa Development, our older brother, Thabo Mbeki, and dear friends. I am deeply honored to welcome you to Ethiopia for the second Italy-Africa Summit. This gathering marks a pivotal moment in Africa-Europe relations, a moment to move from dialogue to action and to turn ideas into clear outcomes for our people. Italy has articulated to serve as a bridge between Europe and Africa. Through the Mattei Plan, energy security, sustainable development, migration management, and human capital are integrated into a unified strategy based on partnership and mutual benefit. Ethiopia is proud to be part of this vision. Our participation in the first Italy-Africa Summit in 2024 and our continued engagement since reflects a shared commitment to move beyond words. As we host this summit in Addis Ababa, we reaffirm our readiness to work with Italy, with our African brothers and sisters, and with all partners committed to turning strategic dialogue into development outcomes that improve lives. Ethiopia is increasingly connecting Africa to the world. As the continent's diplomatic capital, a growing hub for aviation and logistics, and host of major global conferences, we are linking regions, markets, and ideas, raising Africa's voice in global affairs. Excellencies, our greatest asset is our people. Africa is young, ambitious, ready to innovate and lead. By investing in youth and skills, we can create jobs, unlock talent, and address today's challenges while preparing for tomorrow's opportunities. Technology, particularly artificial intelligence, is central to this future. Digital transformation and emerging technologies modernize energy infrastructure, improve food systems, enhance health, and enable trade, while delivering people-centered public services. By combining Africa's energetic and creative population with Europe's experience, technology, and capital, we can build solutions that deliver prosperity to our continents and beyond. The Mate Plan aligns closely with Ethiopia's priorities. It complements our homegrown economic reform agenda across renewable energy, climate-smart agriculture, infrastructure, digital transformation, and human capital development. From major hydropower initiatives and expanding regional interconnections to rail, aviation, and the creation of innovation hubs, Ethiopia is laying the foundation for sustainable development and shared values across Africa. Excellencies, the Italy-Africa partnership shows the cooperation can remain balanced and future-focused. It shows that addressing migration, advancing climate action, unlocking Africa's potential, and investing in youth and technology must advance together. Ethiopia is fully committed to turning words into action, ensuring tangible benefits for our people. In closing, I reaffirm Ethiopia's resolve to deepen strategic cooperation with Italy and across Africa. Together, we can shape a new Africa-Europe relationship, not based on dependency, but dignity, not on extraction, but shared prosperity, not on the past, but on a future we build together. Let's move forward with determination to build the Africa and Europe we all aspire to see. I thank you, and once again, I welcome you to Ethiopia, the land of origin.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Now, I give the word.